Hey everybody, welcome back to Sarah J. Awesome. So today I thought I would just make a fun little video about all the cars that I've had, my experience with cars, my love for all cars, not just EVs, and why I decided to get a Tesla. My dad is a master mechanic. He has been working on cars since like the 70s. I mean, he's been working on cars forever, since he was 16. He had his own automotive shop, and me and my little brother, we grew up going to his automotive shop every single day after school from as little as I can remember up until we were like, I don't know, teenagers. And my dad loves cars. My brother loves cars. I love cars. Like, just the smell of cars gets me excited. It reminds me of when me and my brother were younger and we used to play in the automotive shop out there, like around customers' cars and everything. My dad would be working underneath them and, show us all the different stuff and, tell us don't touch the old Freon, bucket over there and old oil bucket. And, we would just play. We'd make forts in the customer area where customers wait and stuff. We made forts and played in there all day. Like, me and my brother, we sometimes for fun, when my parents were not paying attention, we used to put the cars in neutral, and then we would get behind the car and we would push on the car and rock the cars back and forth and try to see if we could get the car to roll up over the curb. Yeah, my parents don't know that we did this, but this is what we did for fun growing up. We just played with customers' cars. We crawled in them. Here's my proof. I'm going to insert a picture of my little brother playing in somebody's truck. I remember when I was, 9 years old, my dad got this 1980 Corvette Stingray, and my mom was so mad because we couldn't really afford it. But he got this car for himself and he was so excited. And he I don't know if he bought it or he borrowed it, but he got a paint gun, which this was in the 90s, okay? He got this paint gun from his friend, and he painted the whole Corvette midnight blue color. I loved that car. He worked about an hour from our house, and so every night, after school and work, my dad would drive me and my brother home in this car, and we would lay in the back, and because there's only 2 seats in it, and the glass roof, we'd lay down and look at the stars on the way home. And I loved him taking me to school in that car because people always called it the Batmobile. Sarah's coming in the Batmobile. It was just so cool. I also love Batman. I'm a huge fan. So anyway, we loved that car. One time I actually got sick when I was 10 years old. I remember I was so sick on the way home, and my dad was like, please don't puke in the car. Please don't puke in the Corvette. And I was holding it in, trying not to throw up in the car. I was so sick. I got a stomach virus from school. And somehow I made it all the way home, and I can't remember if I threw up in the car, but I know I held it till we got to the driveway. And then my dad was trying to open the car and pull me out as quick as he could before I puked in it. But anyway, so when I was growing up, I really loved trucks. Trucks were my favorite thing. We grew up in the country. I was born and raised in Texas. If a man doesn't have a truck, then he's not a man. That's how I was raised. All men have to have trucks. And I loved trucks. I was a huge tomgirl, loved four-wheelers, loved going mudding and everything. And I wanted a truck for my first car. I didn't want a car. And I wanted a black Ford F-150. And this was back when the F-150s were real tiny and small, and they were kind of rounded in the front. My parents couldn't afford it to get that for me for my first car. I was so bummed. I really wanted that, that black F-150 truck. My birthday came, I turned 16, and I remember coming home and my parents surprised me with my first car. And I was born in 87, and they gave me an 86 Nissan Maxima. And I was like, oh my God, this car is older than I am by 1 year. But I got my first car. I was free. I could roam the roads, do what I want, drive where I want, as long as I could, afford the gas. Me and my dad and my brother took it to the beach. And the beach was like, I don't know, 80 miles from us or something. Maybe more, gosh, I don't know. And we were so surprised that we made it to the beach because this car would break down all the time. And we figured, what the heck? I mean, my dad's a mechanic, so if we break down on the way, he can fix it, right? We'll just pull in somewheres, go to AutoZone, fix the car. So this car used to die in the middle of intersections. It died literally on the railroad track twice. Like it died all the time. I was so embarrassed to drive it to high school. Also the bell, like, when you open the door and it's like ding, ding, ding. No. Have you seen the old school bells where it's like a copper bell and then a hammer and it it goes tink, tink, tink? That is what it was for the door sound. It was a metal bell with a metal hammer and it would tink like repeatedly when the door was open. So I finally came home after school one day and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is so embarrassing. You can tell that it's a metal bell. And I got a screwdriver and a hammer and I went up underneath my dash and I felt around in there with my hand where the bell was, took the screwdriver and the hammer and I beat the bejesus out of this bell until it wouldn't work anymore. I fixed the bell problem. So anyway, a little bit of time went by, maybe a year, maybe a little bit less. And my mom was like, you have to get her a new car. This car is dying all the time. It's going to get her killed. And my dad's like, okay. And so in 2001, if you'll remember, Fast and Furious came out. I'm not going to lie, okay? Might be a little embarrassing, especially since I know my coworkers are watching my videos now sometimes. But I was obsessed with Fast and the Furious. I was obsessed with Vin Diesel. I wanted to be that chick in there, his girlfriend. I wanted one of these awesome cars. I was determined to get a stick shift. I wanted a manual transmission. I wanted it so bad. And I was like, I don't care how ugly the car is. I just want a stick shift. My dad's like, you don't even know how to drive a stick shift. I haven't taught you yet. He ended up getting me one of my dream cars for $800. He got me this silver 98 Mitsubishi Eclipse manual transmission, and he bought it before he taught me how to drive a standard. I was in love with that car. I'm still in love with that car. It's long gone, and that was my favorite car. I just loved it. It looked like one of the cars out of Fast and the Furious. Instead of hanging out with my girlfriends, I hung out with all the guys, and we would switch off driving each other's cars around the parking lot around our high school and pretend like we were the Fast and Furious people. I mean, we were basically, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, but it was fun. And I was not a girly girl by any means. I used to sit in my room as a teenager and I used to draw pictures of how I wanted the paint job, and I wanted to get a job just to buy accessories for this car. I wanted the neon lights, I wanted blue lights, I wanted to have these spoke rims and all these things. I had an awesome stereo system in it that I basically put in myself, and it had the blue neon lights on the volume button and everything. I mean, dude, I was obsessed with that car. I was obsessed. I loved my Mitsubishi Eclipse, and my dad bought it, and I came home from school one day and it was sitting in the driveway. Nobody was home. It was just me and my little brother. He took off to his friend's house and I'm like, oh my God, Dad, you got me my dream car. I can't believe it. He's like, you can't drive it yet. I haven't taught you how to drive a stick. He's like, just wait till I get home. So we're out there in the country, and my dad's an hour away at work. He doesn't know that at my mom's job where she works, I had actually tried to learn how to drive one of the company trucks, and it was a standard, and I could not drive it. I tried, for hours, and I had that truck hopping like a bunny rabbit all over the parking lot. It was just, it kept dying, and it was horrible. It was terrible. But I knew how the mechanics worked to drive a standard, but I didn't have the muscle memory yet. And it was really hard with the truck. And so anyway, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, Dad, I'll wait till you get home. No, I didn't wait. I went and jumped in that car as soon as I figured out where the keys were. And, I took off in this car and got out on this little back road country freeway, and I was just going up and down, up and down, up and down, trying to learn how to drive this car. And after several hours and like emptying the tank of gas, basically, I had figured out how to drive this car. I loved that car. I got to where I could shift so smoothly, you couldn't even tell at all. And I went and picked my grandmom up one time, go show her off my new car, and took her to the grocery store. And I remember her in the passenger seat, and she goes, "Wait, are you shifting?" I was like, "Yeah, Grandmom, I'm shifting. It's a manual transmission. It's a stick shift." She goes, "Oh, it was so smooth. I didn't even know you were shifting." She said, Your Poppy has always just been so rough with stick shifts, and I could always tell. It was just so jerky." She's like, "But you're it's so smooth." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, Grandmom." I was like, I've been, trying so hard because I used to kill it all the time when I first got it. So anyway, eventually the car didn't work anymore. My dad did get it. It had been totaled in California, and he got it from like a police auction for like $800. So, he, fixed it up and everything before he gave it to me. He had to put a new bumper on, new lights and everything. Eventually it went kaput. My next car that I got was a 89 blacked out GMC Jimmy Blazer. And I put these silver and black rims on it, and it had the lined grille across the front. I did love that thing, but at that time I had 2 tiny little babies, and the AC was just terrible. I mean, I had really dark tint on it, and it was awful. When I finally started working in healthcare, my first big savings, I got myself a 2009 Toyota Corolla. I did love that car also, and I paid $9,000 for it. I got it because my best friend at the time, we went to her sister's birthday party at this bar. It was like my first time going to a bar, and I was like, I don't know, 22 years old. And her sister got arrested. She was drunk, and she was being obnoxious, and she got arrested. So she had her car there, and my friend contacted me a couple days later. She's like, "Hey, I know you're looking for a new car. My dad said that he's, fed up with my sister, and he's selling her car. And you don't have to pay full price. You just pay off what he owes on the car, and he only owes $9,000. So this car only had 32,000 miles on it. It was $9,000. It was a 2009 Toyota Corolla, and I bought it in 2010. I mean, this car was like brand new, basically. Before he sold it to me, he said I need to take it in because the transmission is going out, and since I bought the car, he's like, I need to get it taken care of under warranty. So he got the transmission taken care of, and that car lasted me until after I married my husband. My husband bought me a 2006 Dodge Durango, and he got that for me because he had 4 kids and I had 2 kids, so we needed a car that sat 8 so we could, get the family around. And it was great. Had the screen in the back and the DVD player, back when, DVDs were a thing. The kids loved it. We loved it. It was good. Then after that, we had so many cars. I sold the Corolla to my brother for him to fix it up. My brother is also a mechanic and works in the oil field. So he fixed up the Toyota Corolla, and my dad checked it out, and the transmission had gone out again. So this car only had 50,000 miles on it, and the transmission had gone out twice. And it was an automatic. Like, it's not like it was a manual transmission. It was automatic. So they changed out the transmission again because it wasn't under warranty anymore. Sold it to a driving school, and I had the Dodge Durango. Eventually the Dodge Durango wasn't big enough for the kids anymore. So then my husband bought me a 2009 white Chevy Suburban, which we still have. And then when I went to x-ray school, I needed another car that was better on gas to get around to all my rotations because I rotated through 12 different hospitals. So my husband got me a 2012 blue Mazda 2. And that car has been so good to me. It has at least 167,000 miles on it. 4 weeks after I bought my Tesla, it finally went kaput and the radiator blew up while I was driving to work one day. And so that was like my sign from God that I made a good decision buying the Tesla for myself. But anyway, the Mazda 2 was good to me. And we still have it. We're going to, fix it up and give it to my oldest son. So those are all the cars that I've had. I love cars. I love the smell of burning rubber. I love the roar of an engine. I love, like, the smell of old gas cars, like super, super old cars. I absolutely love them. So I've been car shopping for 4 years. My dream car, I thought, was a Mazda CX-5. And I know I've mentioned this before too, but that's really what I wanted. I wanted one so bad, and I wanted either blue, white, or red. They have this navy blue color with this cream leather interior. And that's what I wanted. And I wanted a moonroof, or a panoramic sunroof is really what I wanted. And I wanted it to be comfortable, and I wanted it to be good on gas, most importantly, because I drive so much. I don't want to have a big car payment and new car insurance, it's very expensive. And then on top of that, have expensive gas. And I have to get oil changes and brake changes all the time and tire rotations because I drive so much. I ended up in June of last year test driving a Mazda CX-30 and a Mazda CX-5, and I didn't like it. It looked good, but it wasn't comfortable, and there was a lot of things wrong with it. The stitching looked terrible, the hood was misaligned, and this was a 2020. A lot of issues with it, and I was just like, man, I really thought this was my dream car. And my dad and my brother and my husband all looked at it, and they're like, this quality is crap. They're like, honey, do not buy this car. By the time you get done paying this car off, whatever you get, you're going to be 40 years old. They're like, you should get yourself something better than, a Mazda CX-5. They're like, you've worked really, really hard. You deserve to get your dream car. I didn't know anything about Tesla at all. Nothing. All I saw the car, with, the doors that come up, the butterfly doors. And I saw it when they took the astronauts to the spaceship for, the big blast off last year, which was a huge deal. And that's pretty much all I knew. And I knew they were all electric. And I knew they were super crazy, crazy expensive. And I knew the interior was just beautiful. The only interior that I had seen was actually not the Model X. It was the Model 3, with the wood and the one screen and everything. And I just loved them. And I didn't want to even look at them. My husband and my kids were like, oh, you should look into them. You should look into them. And I'm like, I can't afford that. Don't even show it to me, because then no other car is going to compare. I can't get this. I can't afford it. It's way out of my price range. I'm like, there's no way. Like, this isn't doable. I don't know anything about them. I'm afraid of them. I've heard, crazy stories about them. After car shopping for like a month straight last year, because it was, my Mazda 2 was kind of having some problems finally after 167,000 miles. And I'm like, I need to hurry up and get a car. So I had this loan from my bank, and the loan was for $35,000. I came home after a day of shopping and after test driving in the Mazda for 2 days. I was just so bummed. I'm like, man, I finally have the money to buy myself a car, and I'm just not happy with anything. I'm like, maybe I'm like, I don't know, too picky or something. I went on the Tesla website. I'm like, let me just see if maybe I could afford it, because I had also test drove a Cadillac, because my dad, my brother, and my husband like Cadillac. And I never cared for them, because growing up, we were not poor, but like, we were poor, and to me, like, the name brand doesn't matter. Like, I want something safe, reliable, something that I think is beautiful, comfortable, good on gas mileage. That's important to me. I don't care about the name, the logo, or whatever. So I got on the Tesla website, and I saw that the Model 3 Standard Range Plus 2020 was $37,990. And also it said after savings of like 3 years or whatever, it was like $35,000. So I'm like, that's BS for sure. Like, what is this fake $35,000 price tag? What is this? And I'm like, that's a lie. I'm like, I already know. So I start looking, and I'm like, is it really this much money? How much is tax, title, and license going to be? Can I afford this? So I added it all up, and after 5 minutes of realizing that I could afford the Model 3, I freaking ordered it. I ordered the basic everything. I didn't get anything, custom. And I got lucky because my dream car color was pearl white, and it just happened to be that the ones last year, the pearl white was the included color. It was the only one that didn't cost $1,000 extra. So I ordered it, and then after I ordered it, I actually was like, holy crap, I don't know anything about this car. I'm like, but I would rather go ahead and order it now because I saw that it takes a long time for you to get the car after you order it. And I can always cancel the order or whatever later. So that's actually when I finally made a login for YouTube with a username and password, and so that I could watch all these Tesla videos and save them when I found a good one, because I would always get distracted with kids and work and, you know, everything else. So I started making a list of like videos to watch about Tesla. You know, going into all that, I had to do so much research about the car that I realized there's also not too many women that do Tesla videos. And I wanted something that would tell everyone from start to finish everything about the car and be honest about it. Like, did you buy it and then like it was crap? Did something go wrong with it? Was like everything terrible? Was it crazy expensive? Was it more than they said? All these things. And I ended up deciding that I was going to make my own YouTube channel about this car, because I did take delivery of the car. I had never touched one, not even with one single finger. I had never touched a Tesla. I had never test drove a Tesla. The first time I ever drove one was when I drove my car off the lot when I took delivery of it. It was love at first drive. But even though I did fall in love with it as soon as I saw it and got in, I was still skeptical the first few weeks of having it, because I was afraid of that battery anxiety and things like that, because my drive was so far. And I've driven over 7,000 miles now, and I can never go back. I am in love with this car. I am in love with everything about it. I've dealt with the Tesla Mobile Service Center. I've taken my car to get it fixed at the service center. I've had great customer service. I've saved a ton of money on gas and oil changes and brake pad changes because I don't have to deal with that anymore. It's saving me so much money in gas that $35,000 savings price is legit. It is for sure 100% true. I mean, I've saved so much money driving this car. So it's getting dark now. Been rambling on way too long, but yeah, I mean, that's my love for cars. That's how I ended up going electric and absolutely loving it. When I bought this car, I actually kept it a secret for like 2 months, yeah, until I actually was going to take delivery of the car and got my VIN number. And that's when I finally told my family that are all mechanics and in the oil field, like, I'm sorry I went against our family and I bought an electric vehicle. But they were like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. And, you know, 'cause they were really against it in the beginning. And then I took it out to go see them when I took delivery of the car. And my dad and my brother were just in love with it. And, you know, all the other cars that I had looked at to buy, I kept calling them and asking them, bugging them, taking pictures. What do you think about this car? What do you think about these specs? What do you think about this engine? This one has, you know, turbo. This one's, you know, 2-liter. This one has this, you know, this is how big the compressor is, the AC compressor. And I don't know if that's good enough. What do you think? You know, all these things. And my husband was like, oh my God, just get what you want. And I'm like, I'm not buying anything without my dad and my brother approving, and my husband too. You know, all these men that are important to me in my life. And also that have so much experience with cars. And once they drove it and I showed them everything about it, my dad and my brother were both in love. My husband loves it. He loves that I love it. I couldn't be happier with this car. So I hope this video wasn't too long, but you know, that's my experience with cars. I love them. I love them all, even ones that are not Tesla. I didn't love Tesla and know anything about Tesla until I bought one. They are for real freaking amazing cars. I try to get everyone I know to test drive this car. I probably got at least 7 people that I know already to test drive it, and every single one of them has been in love with it. So back in high school, when I, you know, was obsessed with Fast and Furious, and I would do anything to get a manual transmission, and then my dad got me that Mitsubishi Eclipse. Not only did I think I was hot stuff, but my best friend of all time, the only good friend that has been with me for almost my entire life, her parents got her a 94 red Camaro. We thought we were just the coolest kids on the block. Like, we were like the poorest in the high school with like the best cars. But our parents loved us, and they you know, they were able to find some good deals on those cars, and we got really, really lucky. And, you know, I hope that her parents and my parents know how much we appreciated them doing everything in their power to get us our dream cars. And I remember we went to go take our SATs. You know, it was so old school back then. We had like one prepaid cell phone, $50 for the month for like 15 minutes. Our parents were like, don't use these phones unless you're like dying on the side of the road. And, you know, if you're using your dying breath to call an emergency ambulance or something, like, do not use these phones for anything. We didn't have, you know, screens back then and GPS and everything. So I have a picture of her dad actually showing us on the big, you know, the big orange map books back then. I don't even know what they were called, but it was like a big orange book that you got at the gas station. It was just all maps for like everywhere. And he was like showing us like how to get to this testing center to go take our SATs. That's how old I am. That's how old school we are. So, but we had so much fun in those cars. And I did take the Tesla out there to go see her and her family and her dad. And I made her and her dad both test drive the Tesla, and they were just in love with it. It was so fun. And this car is so fun. So in that Mitsubishi Eclipse that I had, I'll never forget, I got my first ticket in that car, and I was in high school, and there was something that I needed to run home for on my lunch break between classes, and I was doing like 106 down this country road, and I went over this tiny little bridge. I saw this cop up there. He was a cop from our high school, so he knew me, and I slammed on my brakes, and he clocked me doing 86 miles an hour in like a 40-mile-an-hour zone. I got a ticket, and my mom was so embarrassed, and she told my dad, she's like, "You're going to court with her. I'm not taking her to court. This is so embarrassing." And so my dad took me to court, and he paid for the ticket. Thank you, Dad. I love you. Thanks for paying for my first speeding ticket when I was 16 in my Fast and Furious Mitsubishi Eclipse. Oh man, good times. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you guys love it. And if you like this video, please like it. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe. And I will see you guys next time.